Hello, everyone, and well, what's today? Today's Thursday. Happy Thursday. I'm losing track of days, as I always do. It's been a long week, and yesterday we had some really big news drop. We were all waiting. We saw the writing on the wall of Fast Passes changing. We haven't seen Fast Pass at Walt Disney World or at Disneyland for quite a while, since before the pandemic. So we all knew this was coming, and there was a lot of speculation. I was on in our Facebook group, receiving messages on Instagram, seeing posts on all social media channels, hearing podcasters, reading blogs about all the speculation about what's to come for Walt Disney World and for Disneyland when it came to Fast Pass. Again, we all saw this. There were a lot of rumors, and I said, let's wait and see. Because my prediction when we saw the writing on the wall was we were going to get at Walt Disney World a system very similar to Max Pass at Disneyland. Not only was that my prediction, that was my hope. That was my goal. That was if I could ask Disney to choose to do something, what I would ask them to do. Because although I do visit Walt Disney World more than I visit Disneyland, having the opportunity to go to Walt Disney World a lot more than I do Disneyland, when I have gone to Disneyland and used Max Pass, it has transformed my experience in a very positive way and at a very, what I think, valuable cost for getting through the park and accomplishing more. I'm going to argue quickly for Disneyland. At Disneyland, typically, if you want to accomplish every attraction, you need to have 2 days, at least 2 days, to get to every attraction. With Max Pass, we were able to do every attraction, at least every attraction that we wanted to do, all within 1 day. That saved us the cost of a second day at the park. Or at the very least, if we did want that second day at the park, it would have all been gravy. It would have been additional attractions that we could do a second or a third time. So it actually, Max Pass ended up saving us money on our trip to Disneyland, although we were paying a little bit more. Let's take a step back, though. We have this news about Disney Genie. I want to hear your thoughts. I didn't want to go live yesterday. I thought in my head that perhaps I would do an Instagram live when the news broke yesterday to make this happen and or to help you to help us all to navigate this change in this news. But I knew that the first day that any news breaks, I typically don't break news stories on Imagineer Podcast because one, we're not a news channel. We focus mostly on Disney history and the present. We don't talk too much about what's to come in the future. And two, I know that whenever there's any given day that news breaks, there's a ton of social media content out there, all these posts, all these opinions, all these voices. I have received, I'm not kidding you, in the last 16 hours, 75 messages, 75 individuals who have messaged me just on Instagram asking about Disney Genie or sharing an opinion about Disney Genie. There's a lot of varying opinions. There's a lot of outrage from folks or excitement or speculation or hesitation. There's all these range of emotions which happens. And I find that a good night's sleep is a good way to get our emotions in check. There's science to back that. I just read a book, totally off topic. I just read a book all about why we sleep and the benefits of sleep. And one of them is actually emotional intelligence and processing information. And that's why when we sleep on something, when they say to sleep on it, we tend to go the next day and have a more refreshed perspective on whatever the news was. And this is another case where I went to bed last night with all these emotions, all these thoughts, woke up this morning a little more clear-minded as to my thoughts. And although I did post and share my thoughts last night, I thought it'd be more useful to now come to the table a day later. And honestly, it would probably be even more valuable to do this a week from now to talk about Disney Genie. So I'm taking a lunch break from work just to chat with you all about my thoughts about Disney Genie. Typically, when there's news like this, as I mentioned, there's a lot of outrage. I'm gonna start with something that is, I think, news to none of you, but is important to remember. Disney is a publicly traded company. They are responsible for shareholders, for stockholders, for the board of directors, in addition to guests. They also understand that in order to improve the share price, you not only need to think about the short-term financial benefit, but the long-term financial benefit, which is not only encouraging new guests, but also retaining guests, because basic business principle is that it is more valuable to retain a guest, or less expensive to retain guests than it is to acquire a new customer. That's basic sales. You can tell I come from a business background, but this is how business works. It's less expensive to retain customers than to gain them. But Disney's share price, if you've looked, has been doing incredibly well during a pandemic. They are a travel company. I dare you to go and look at other travel companies during the pandemic. Their share prices decreased significantly. Disney stock price doubled during the pandemic. That's insane. Let's forget share prices for a second. But I wanted to start with that on the table because, yes, Walt didn't live in the world we live in today. He also, at the time, was in charge of a family-run business. It was privately owned. It was the Disney family that owned it. Today, the Disney family does not own the Walt Disney Company. Walt does not own the Walt Disney Company. Although, of course, the Disney family has a large stake in it. It is run by shareholders. And shareholders are also guests. There are so many guests. If you think about guests who own shares, who go to Disney. So that's just go into this conversation knowing, first of all, that Disney is a business, that is their goal, to make money, in addition to create happiness, which is their mission. Disney Genie is, I think, after sitting on it and sleeping on it and thinking more about it, my initial thought was, this is good, but let's think through the details. I am now sold on it. Let's remember back in the day when we had FastPass Plus, there were complaints, and I would get this a lot from guests who would go to Disney and ask my opinion about how they can get a fast pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Well, I'd say, first of all, you have to be staying at the Walt Disney World Resort Hotel, because 60 days out, those fast passes are going to be gone. In fact, because you can book 60 days in advance from your first day at Walt Disney World, that means they're going to be sold out the 60 days, 61 days, 62 days, 63 days out. It's almost impossible to get a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train Fast Pass. And I tried so hard on many occasions to get that. And there were trips where I would go and know I was going only a month in advance. And guess what? I knew if I wanted to ride that attraction, I had to rope drop. If I were going to Animal Kingdom and I wanted to ride Flight of Passage, well, those fast passes are gone too. I got to go wake myself up early in the morning. Thank goodness I'm an early bird. Get in line for Flight of Passage before the park opens, half hour before the park opens, and get in. There were issues with FastPass Plus. I loved the ability to plan it in advance. I loved the ability to, if you were staying at a resort hotel, have that advantage to be able to book your trip in advance. But also, think about it. How often do you know, and this was one of the complaints I would get about FastPass Plus, how often do you know 2 months in advance what time you want to ride Space Mountain? This was something that not only I heard complaints about, but I know that Disney heard complaints about as well, that it was an unfair system. Not everybody knew 2 months in advance when they could book it. Plus, there's reservations on top of it that you have to book, and people missed the paper fast pass system where you just got to the park in the morning, you went to your first attraction, got that paper fast pass, waited, you did another attraction or two, you went back and returned for that fast pass. You then went to your next attraction that you want a fast pass for, got that paper ticket, went on the next one. Guess it was a simpler way of doing it. They were also the only theme park that I'm aware of, major theme park that is. There could be local parks, amusement parks elsewhere. They were the only theme park that I was aware of that did not do a paid fast pass system. Six Flags, for instance, if I remember buying in 2007, I remember buying a Lightning Pass that was the equivalent of a fast pass for $75 a person for the day, for one park, just to do the coasters. Universal Orlando, their Express Pass, and their most equivalent version of this is Express Pass Unlimited, starts at $90 a day per person. So if you're a family of 4 and you want the Express Pass Unlimited, you've got to pay $360 to do that. That same family of 4 at Walt Disney World is going to pay $60. Park tickets at Universal and Disney are comparable these days. They're about the same. So really, as in terms of now moving to the system, knowing that Disney has not capitalized on free fast passes yet, and they waited so long to do it, they gave us a huge favor by waiting this long to do it and now keeping the cost low. Let's take a step back, because there are components of Disney Genie that are free. You're going to find through this conversation my thesis and my reason for believing that this is a good system is if you are willing to pay for it, you're going to have a reduced wait time for every attraction that you want to do. Not every, but your overall wait time is going to be reduced. If you don't find this to be a valuable system, if you don't want to pay for it, or you can't pay for it, it's just not in the budget, you are still going to see reduced wait times at every attraction. This is my thesis. This is my theory. We have to wait and see if it comes to life, but here are the reasons why. First, Disney Genie itself is complimentary. And let's think about what's actually included in Disney Genie that is complimentary. The first is still the wait times. We've always had the ability to check wait times and see, Soarin' right now is 60 minutes, and or Soarin' right now is 30 minutes, and everybody flies over to Soarin', and guess what? Now, because everybody went there at 60 minutes, Disney has now incorporated, which people were paying for through a third party before, forecasted wait times. So now you know, going into a day, using first-party data, Disney's using their own proprietary data, and their data is good to know what the wait time is going to be at certain times of the day. So they'll be able to see that, and this is going to fluctuate because I also know that people are going to see, in 2 hours, Flight of Passage is predicted to be 120 minutes. Therefore, I'm not going to do it in 2 hours. I might do it now, and perhaps that will adjust the forecast and change it slightly as guests decide to move throughout the park. And because your app and your Magic Band are RFID or Bluetooth enabled, they can see where guests are from a holistic point of view, where the crowds are, and adjust their forecast in live time using first-party data. So they'll be able to really accurately predict, and I think it's going to be within 15 minutes for any given attraction, what the wait time is going to be at a certain time of day. This in itself is going to help you to plan out your day much more effectively. Because I remember going to Disney, the one advantage I always had is a good sense from being able to go so often of what the wait times were going to be at certain times of day. That has now leveled the playing field for everybody. So you don't have to be a Disney expert or someone who goes to the parks often to be able to see what the wait times are going to be. And this is how the complimentary service in itself is going to reduce wait times. The fact that you'll be able to forecast and know ahead of time how long the waits are going to be and make an informed decision about when you want to ride certain attractions. That also means that, by the way, that doesn't mean that just because the forecast is there, that you're going to be able to avoid waits for certain attractions. So Flight of Passage, it doesn't mean a Flight of Passage is now going to be a 10-minute wait all day. But instead of fluctuating and maybe going up to 3 hours, perhaps it'll be a consistent 60 minutes, 45 minutes. And I've always argued, and I still argue this day, I will wait 2 hours for Flight of Passage in the standby queue because standby queue is amazing. Disney standby queues are phenomenal, especially the newer attractions. So that in itself, I believe, is one way that this is going to save time for a lot of people, including those who don't want to pay the extra for, I can't even call it FastPass anymore, for Disney Genie Plus to access the Lightning Lane. And the name change is also really intentional and important, which I will get to as well. The other benefits, and yes, I will post this to IGTV so you can watch it later. And perhaps in the fall, when this comes to life, I will be right or wrong. I do believe there will be an adjustment period. So do not let the first week or even the first month, which I'm sure will coincide with Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, don't let that be the deciding factor. Like anything that's new, like any new system, it needs time to adjust and improve. And I do think this is going to be a blueprint for what's going to be a really effective system for navigating Walt Disney World. So don't let the first week, the first month be the judge. Wait until, I would say, beginning of 2021 when this has been out. Sorry, 2022. I'm losing track of the years. In addition to the days, wait until it comes out then or when it's been that long to really decide what the system is going to be like. Because any new system is going to have flaws, bugs, problems, but you work through those flaws, those bugs, and those problems because in the end, it's going to be much better use of your time. So that's one thing, is the forecasting. Two, before you even arrive, it's going to help you to plan and customize itinerary. Customize itinerary. How often do you get the chance to get customized itinerary for a Disney trip for free based on your preferences? Very rare. Some people reach out to me and ask me questions, but I'm not going to sit there and for free for everybody help you personally customize every trip. That doesn't exist. This is now going to help you to personally customize your trip based on your preferences. And if you haven't been to Walt Disney World in 10 years, you don't know what the new attractions are. This is going to help you to identify things that you and your family might enjoy based on that. And again, this is still free. The other part of this is free is the incorporation of mobile order and reservations, the ability to get those. We've already had those, so that's not a big deal. To get your boarding groups, that's also a tremendous benefit. The thing I love that's also included in this, there's a couple of things that are really cool. One is the virtual assistant. Of course, anytime you have a question, you can always go up to a cast member and ask a question. But let's say you're in your room, you're wondering about what to expect at the Magic Kingdom that day. You have a question, you'd normally have to call somebody or go downstairs to the lobby, or you might be in a queue for an attraction at the Magic Kingdom and have a question. There's no cast member accessible in the middle of the queue. You can ask Disney Genie a virtual question, again, for free, and they can get you an answer. And if they can't get you an answer, they can direct you to a live cast member to help you answer that question. So it's going to help you to not only better plan and customize your day, but move through your day. That's the part of the experience that I have always seen is the biggest challenge for those who don't go to Disney that often, is that they don't know how to flow through the park like an expert. But this is going to help you to better flow through the park like an expert, which will reduce your stress, maximize your happiness while you're on vacation, and overall give you a better experience. That's all free. The other thing, the last trip I went on, we had a member of our party who required a DAS pass. He had broken his foot. And so he was on a scooter. That's the only way he can get around. This happened 2 days before his trip, broke his foot, had to get through the park, needed a DAS pass, which required going to the park in the morning, going to guest relations, waiting in line, getting the DAS pass, and then for every attraction that we needed to do, he would have to go to the front of that queue. So if we wanted to do Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios, go to physically scoot his way, or a member of our party had to go over to Rock and Roller Coaster, show the DAS pass, get a time back equivalent to the standby wait, which really, for those who don't know, the DAS pass is equivalent to kind of like a fast pass, except you're not going to get in the line right away. If the line is 90 minutes, you have to wait 90 minutes, and then you get to come back at the reserve time to get into that queue. But you have to physically go from place to place. Disney Genie is going to first allow those who do require a DAS pass to not reserve it, but get everything they need in advance of arriving at the park. That's going to help so many people. And then once they're in the park, use the DAS pass to do what they would normally do in person, to physically go from place to place, kind of like what you had to do in the old days with paper fast passes, but do it through the app. So if you're at a restaurant, or if you just got off an attraction and the next one you want to do is across the park because the forecasted wait is low, you can go ahead and just get that DAS pass entry for the next attraction from where you are. That's a huge advantage to those who are going to need it. So that I also love. And they talked about additional things, the audio experiences, which are going to be very interesting. I'm wondering if that's going to be a guided tour or going to be audio tips or music. I don't know. This is all free. These items that I just mentioned, in a lot of cases, people normally pay extra for through a third party to get, but Disney is giving it to you for free. That's a tremendous advantage to everyone. That's an amazing perk. Now let's get to Disney Genie Plus, because this is the thing that I have been getting a ton of outrage about. I still am in Disney's corner with this one. Having personally used MaxPass, like I said in the beginning, at Disneyland, I found it to be incredibly advantageous, incredibly valuable, and it saved us the extra day at the park, which saved us money. That might not be the case at Walt Disney World, because generally people do go to all 4 parks. They go maybe 1 park per day. They might park hop. And in that case, they are going to need the 4 days. So it's not necessarily going to save you time, and therefore you don't need that 5th day. But maybe you would normally take that 5th day, and instead of doing that, you're just going to pay for Disney Genie Plus and not have to do that. So I do think that it is maybe not going to be quite the same. But the cost here is $15 per ticket per day. So if you're a family of four, like I said, that's $60 to access Lightning Pass. The equivalent cost, as I said, I haven't looked at the most recent numbers. I'll have to go back and check. But I remember in 2007 paying $75 a person for the same thing at Six Flags. Six Flags. $15 a person at Disney. Walt Disney World. $20 at Disneyland. That cost is cheap compared to the industry standard. I already said, if you don't think this is valuable to you and you don't have the money for it, you still are going to have an enhanced experience at Walt Disney World because of Genie and because of Genie Plus, because of its ability to, with this system, level the playing field and spread people throughout the park, because everyone will have better decision making to decide based on the wait times where they want to go and what they want to do. That is a per day cost. It's $15 per ticket per day. So it'd be $60 per day for a family of four. Another big complaint, and this was a problem with FastPass, when you have a free system that is accessible to everybody, FastPass is no longer FastPass. If you remember those FastPass waits, which I do, there were days that the FastPass wait would be 20 minutes. Standby would be a crawl, because everybody would be getting a FastPass, or a large number of people would be getting a FastPass for, let's say, Space Mountain. That put the standby queue at a crawl, which really dramatically increased the wait time for Space Mountain. And this was true in a number of different attractions. It was an issue, and this was a thing that Disney had heard was a problem with FastPass. So, Genie Plus, for those who are interested and able to pay for it, is, I think, going to dramatically reduce your wait time, even compared to FastPass in the Lightning Lane. And again, you will no longer need to plan your fast passes. And I'm calling it fast pass. That's the old term. This is no longer fast pass. You will no longer need to plan your attractions in advance. Instead, when you arrive at the park, everybody's got an equal shot, except this is one thing that is interesting. And one of the perks, because I see Chase is asking whether perks are staying on site now. If you do stay on site at Walt Disney World, what I've read, and I will have to confirm, is, but I'm pretty sure, because I've heard this from pretty reliable sources, that if you are staying at Walt Disney World, rather than having to get your first Lightning Pass attraction when you enter the park, instead you can get it at 7 a.m. So if you're staying on property or in your hotel room at 7 a.m., you can decide on your first one. Now, you might say, well, that means that anyone who's staying on property gets a huge advantage. No, they used to have a huge advantage, because they used to be able to do 3 attractions 30 days before everybody else. This is now 2 hours before everybody else. You can reserve your first, not your whole day, not 3, your first. So if you really want your first attraction to be Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom at 7 a.m., if you are staying at Walt Disney World property, you have a little bit of an advantage, because you can now decide if that's going to be your first one. But if you don't get it, that's okay, because guess what? You can also try to get it again later. Very similar to the old FastPass system. The other huge advantage is this is not going to be for, and it's an advantage and a disadvantage depending on how you look at it. It's not going to be for every attraction. They've already said that you're going to pay extra if you want to get the most popular attractions. So Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was cited, and I mentioned that it was always the case that unless I got it 60 days in advance, staying on Walt Disney World property, I was not getting a fast pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It wasn't happening, or I'd have to spend hours on the app every day fidgeting with FastPass Plus to try to get a time. It was never that easy to get Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Now, on the day of, if you do decide that it is something you really want to do, first of all, you can always still rope drop. You can always still see what the forecasted wait times are going to be, or what the current wait times are, and decide if it's worth the wait or not. If you think that it really is, that your kids love Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and you really, really want to do that attraction, first of all, you do not need Genie Plus to get that attraction. You can decide you just want Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and just pay for that one attraction. They haven't said what the cost is going to be, because I am anticipating this is going to be a dynamic pricing based on the schedule and the fluctuation of peak versus off-peak season. So if you're going the week of Christmas to New Year's, you'll probably end up paying more, which makes sense, right? Because there's more people in the park. You got to pay more if you want to get to the front of the line, as compared to an off-peak season, second week in September or something like that. So you don't need Genie Plus to get those Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I expect probably Flight of Passage will be on there as another additional cost based on the price that day. So that's going to be another additional consideration, is that you don't need Genie Plus. Genie Plus, I think, from what I heard, is going to be at 40 different attractions across Walt Disney World. Oh, and by the way, it's not per park, it's per ticket. So if you decide to park hop and you want to go from Magic Kingdom to Epcot, you still only have to pay that one price at $15 per ticket per day. You don't need to pay double that because you're going to 2 parks that day. Disney could have easily said, no, it's per park. Nope, it's not per park, it's per day, regardless of if you have a 1-day pass for 1 park or a park hopper. That was a big thing that could have easily added up the cost of this park ticket. The other thing I want to add is certain attractions, one in particular, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, is now going to be, and I see already Kevin's asking about it, is now going to be available for purchase if you would like. I remember up until yesterday, people messaging me frantic about how the virtual queue system can be a struggle because you have to know what you're doing. You have to be on the app at exactly the right time, have a good phone, have good Wi-Fi or good data, because you don't want to use Disney's Wi-Fi. You have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to move fast, and if you don't get it, and you don't ride, and that's it. You have no other choice. There's no VIP tour you can buy to get into the attraction. You can't just go up and ask and try to get yourself into the attraction. You have to be able to get this virtual group, or you're not going to ride that day. But now if you decide it's 7 a.m., you can still try to get that virtual boarding group. And if you get it, great. You don't have to pay for Rise of the Resistance. But if you don't, I have heard people say they would pay to ride Rise of the Resistance. And I'm sure they told Disney that. And Walt Disney's like, okay, well, here you go. But they're not going to charge you. They're not going to make you. This is what I think upset a lot of people, is that people thought that you would have to do a VIP tour and pay $400 to $700 per hour, a minimum of 7 hours for the day. And that's really separating those who can spend a lot on a Disney trip and not. And that's really, when we're talking about privilege, that's privilege. Being able to, if you pay us enough, if you get a VIP tour and you pay a few $1,000s to us, we'll let you on Rise of the Resistance. That's still not the thing. No, instead, you'll be able to pay a much smaller fee. I anticipate will probably, if I had to speculate, and this is total speculation and just completely my guess, maybe $10 a person to get on Rise of the Resistance. And they're still not going to make it the only system. So it's not like just because you're not paying for it, you're not going to get on. They're still, just like any fast pass system, just like they did in the past, limiting the number of people who can pay for it to get in and pay for it to do it that way. I don't think it's going to have any impact on your ability to get a virtual boarding group for free. If you're still able to strategize and plan and prep in advance, I do think you're still going to be able to get it. And even to Cindy's point, even if it is $30 to $50 for Rise of the Resistance, which I still don't think it's going to be that much, then that is still significantly cheaper than doing a VIP tour, which they're still not letting people on VIP tours get on Rise of the Resistance without getting a virtual boarding group on their own. Or in this case, I think if they're going to be willing to pay for it through the extra cost of paying for it, then you can get that as well. Joe, I don't think that's going to be, I think there are going to be problems in the beginning. And I think I mentioned this. There's going to be that first week. Every Disney creator, every Disney news site, you know who they are, going to talk about all the problems with Disney Genie Plus and Disney Genie. Don't let them lead you astray. They're just there to get clicks. It's not going to be a problem. It will have bugs in the beginning, but you have to give any new system time. Any new system is going to have bugs. What else did I want to talk about? So the fact that you're able to get one ticket at a time through Lightning Pass also in itself is not going to be a huge issue if you're not going to pay for it, because everyone's only going to be able to get one at a time. So it's still going to limit how much you're going to be able to do in a day. It's not like anyone, by the way, if you ever wanted to pay to get in front of the lines, that has always existed. It's called a VIP tour. It's not the only benefit of doing a VIP tour, but my gosh, that has already been in place. And there are people who pay thousands of dollars just to skip the lines. And I already know this because I had someone reach out to me and asked to help me plan their Disney trip, and they said, I don't want to wait in line. I'll spend $3,000 to do it. And there are people who will still do that, and who are able to do that. That will always be a thing that has always been a thing. Even Walt started the VIP tours. So we talk about what Walt wanted. Walt started the VIP tours. Walt also started Club 33. There are all these real premium products that are out there that even Walt started, because he knew that he still needs to make his business work. It is a business. So there are always going to be people who are going to be able to pay an extravagant amount of money to do that. And that's fine. They can still do that, because guess what? Even I still pay for my own ticket. I don't have the money to do Club 33. I don't have the money to do a VIP tour every time I go. I'm just like you. I pay my own way. I go a lot, so I talk about how much I'm spending on Disney trips I don't even want to share with you. But I have the ability to go as often as I do. But I still pay my own way. If I want to do Disney Genie Plus, I'm going to have to pay for it too. So if you see me doing it, that means it is valuable. Because if I'm not, then it's probably not. Because again, I have to pay for it too. Full price, no discounts, nothing. I would choose to do this on my next trip, even down the line having kids. We have a baby girl on the way. I'll still pay for her when she's 2 to do this as well. I do think it's going to be incredibly valuable. So, bottom line here, this is a great system. There are a lot of things you are now going to get for free that are going to give you a significant advantage on your next Disney trip that Disney's not asking you to pay for. So they're going to give you the ability to see what the forecasted wait times are, to see what the current wait times are, to help build a custom itinerary for your trip based on your preferences. That is usually a large cost. This is now free to you. Free, included in your cost of admission, whether you're staying on property or not. It's going to be included in My Disney Experience. You're going to have the virtual assistant. All these audio experiences that are going to be included. You can join the walk-up waiting list for restaurants, mobile order from restaurants, which I know you could do those things as well. Make dining reservations from this assistant too, plus DAS Pass for anyone who needs a DAS Pass. This is going to be a time saver for you. I can't even express how much time this is going to save you. Let's imagine our worst fears, and a lot of people decide to do this Disney Genie Plus for Lightning Lane. I did see, because I asked them my story even the first day, 55% of people said this would be valuable to them. 45% of people are not sure yet. So about half would do this. Even in that case, I expect, in the worst case scenario, the worst day, the most peak day, the day where, so many people are doing Lightning Pass, it's still not going to impact you that much. It might reduce your total attractions you get to by 1, maybe 2. You're still going to get Port Connection. There we go. We're back. You're still going to get to do everything you want to do. And I will still be here to help you to plan out what you need to do, to help you to make the most of your trip, to provide tips and tricks. It's just another thing thrown into the mix, another option for you, but it is an option. Disney Genie Plus is an option. It's not Disney asking you for an extra $15 per person just to get into the gate. It's asking for $15 per person to access 40 attractions at Walt Disney World through the Lightning Lane. Do the per ride cost if you want for that. That is, even if you got to 6 rides, even if you got to 6 rides through Lightning Pass because of that, that's $2 and a few cents per ride per person. To be able to reduce your wait in line from 60 minutes to 2 minutes, to me, I think that's worth it. And again, if you really don't think it is valuable to you, don't do it. You don't have to do it. It is completely optional. And I still stand by the fact that you will go to Walt Disney World and have an amazing time, still be able to get to do everything you want to do. You're just going to wait a little bit longer in line. That's all. That's it. And yes, just like Joss said, it's going to be way less than universal passes. I know I'm standing strongly by this point of view, but I like to cut through the emotional response that people have to these decisions. Because when you have an emotional response, it's Disney's asking me to reach into my wallet. Disney's asked, now only the wealthy can go to Disney. No. it's exactly the same cost to go to Disney now. In fact, it's going to be easier for people to plan their days who don't get to go to Disney that often, who are saving for that once in a lifetime trip. Disney Genie is now going to make it easier for them to have a better experience at Walt Disney World. And for those who can afford the extra for Disney Genie Plus, it's going to make it even better for them too. So it truly helps everyone. If you don't believe that, that's okay. You can take the time to think about it, to sit on it. I still encourage you to go to Disney the next time this is offered, which is going to be sometime in this fall. You can decide to try it for yourself, or you can be a skeptic and not do it. And I still think you are absolutely going to have an amazing experience at Walt Disney World. I stand by that. People still asked about the advantages of staying on property, because I know that there are fewer advantages these days. You no longer have the 60-day option for FastPass Plus. FastPass Plus is gone. You don't have Magical Express starting in 2022. So there's a lot of things I know that were removed from it. But I got to be honest, those were also perks. Those were always, to me, perks. They were not the reasons I stayed on property. The reasons to stay on property to me are to, one, I never leave the gate when I enter Walt Disney World. I truly get to be in my total world of escapism and be surrounded by the magic for the entire day and my entire week on Walt Disney World property, to have access to the amenities, to Joffrey's coffee in the morning at my resort hotel, to be immersed in that theme of wherever I'm staying, even if it's all-star resorts, to go into the courtyard and see the giant 101 Dalmatians, and so you go to Pop Century Resort and be in the 50 section or the 60 section or the 80 section, have the Disney Skyliner, the complimentary transportation around Walt Disney World, which saves you the cost on the rental car. Even if you do still need to pay for your way to get to Walt Disney World, you still get the complimentary transportation around Walt Disney World. You get the Disney cast member service. You're at Walt Disney World. That is the advantage of staying on property. It has always been, for me, the advantage of staying on property. Even when I was a kid, I didn't go to the resorts and enjoy staying at the resorts because I got the free transportation. Of course, I didn't have to worry about that. My parents would have had to pay for it. And in most cases, my dad still rented the car anyway, but because he likes to drive and he likes to rent a car. But for me, it was always that environment, and bringing your kids there to Walt Disney World. It's being able to stay on property, and they still have the value resorts, the Monarch resorts, the deluxe resorts. That has always been a thing. There has always been people who can afford the deluxe resorts and those who can only afford the value resorts. But everybody still gets to go to Disney, and everybody still gets to have a great time, even with the rising prices, which I know everything has been rising prices these days. Inflation everywhere has been crazy. You might have to save a little bit longer for your trip, but you're still going to be able to do it. Yeah, Cindy, I'm also soon going to be the parent paying for it too. The baby girl on the way, I'm absolutely going to be the parent paying for it too. So that's always been the case. That's still going to be the case here. You're still going to be able to go to Walt Disney World if you're able to afford it before. You can still afford it now. Again, it's a little more expensive these days, but that's expected. Prices always go up, and Disney's not the only one. And at the end of the day, they are a business. The other thing about the financial side of it is, remember the pandemic, they were hemorrhaging money. They had to furlough and lay off cast members. I know Bob Iger, and it's hard. It's talked about CEO salaries are always a sticky subject, but even they took, the pay cut that they did, took the 0% salary for however much time. And the CEOs don't want to cut their own salaries either. So as having these additional add-on options, it also helps Disney's financial security, which ensures that Disney will be around for us to enjoy. And we'll have the ability to continue to add on experiences and maintain and improve the parks. All these are good things. Disney Vacation Club members, they pay extra too. They save money in the long run, but that's because they have the cash up front to spend it on resorts. There's always going to be that system of people on the spectrum of wealth. I don't even think of it as rich and poor. It's a spectrum of wealth from what people are able to afford on a Disney trip, from the lowest end to the highest end and everything in between. That's always going to, no matter where you go, be there. Every single destination you ever go to, it's going to be like that. So that was about 40 minutes of me talking about Disney Genie and Genie Plus. I hope, because again, the messages and comments and posts and blog sites I saw, just every time there's something like this that comes out where Disney offers a paid anything, there's outrage that Disney's making you do this. We got FastPass for a long time for free. It was amazing while it lasted. It was bound to end. And I do think that this is going to be an improvement on FastPass. And because it is an improvement on FastPass, there is a little bit of a cost that comes with it. So I hope this helped. If you have any messages, let me know. I will post this to my IGTV. So if you missed part of it, you can always go back and watch. If you have questions, you can post them in the comments. I will respond to them. And like I say, with every change at Disney, it's okay to be skeptical. You're not alone. It's okay to be hesitant. You're not alone. It's okay to be worried. You're not alone. It's all because we love this place and we want to be able to go as much as we can and to enjoy the magic as much as we can. I don't think this is really going to make or break your Disney vacation in any way. If anything, it's going to make your Disney vacation. It is certainly not going to break your Disney vacation. Whether you choose the free Disney Genie, and which is available to everybody, or you choose Disney Genie Plus, it's going to make it that much better for you. So many advantages, so many perks. It is going to improve your Disney vacation. Just don't let the sentiments of those who are outraged or who capitalize on clicks from outrage impact your decision, because I will never make that a thing here. There's a lot of benefits from this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great rest of your day, whether you're watching this live or later on IGTV. I appreciate you hanging out with me, staying optimistic, realizing there's a lot of benefits to this, even if there's going to be some hiccups along the way. There will be hiccups, there will be bugs, there will be issues. It's going to happen. You're going to see all these new sites posting about all the problems, but they're all not going to post about what's going well with it. But I will tell you what's going well with it, and it will be a lot. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.